dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky. This is WYMT Mountain News Weekend Edition.
Good evening, I'm Keaton Hall. We're learning new details tonight about what happened and who was injured in Thursday's shooting. Jeremy Toms has more from today's press conference.
Floyd County Sheriff John Hunt went into extensive details about what unfolded on Thursday, June 30th, what others called the deadliest law enforcement event in Kentucky for nearly a century. He says it started with a phone call at 2 p.m. that day from a relative of Store's wife, claiming she was being abused and needed help.
That call was given to a deputy to respond, to do more of a welfare check to see what was going on at that residence.
Two deputies, Petrie and Hall, went out to Allen.
Lance Storm was inside the house and she claimed that he was asleep and she needed to get out of there.
And the wife immediately ran to them to get in the car. Hunt says once deputies learned more about the abuse from her.
Over the last several weeks, he had her cell phone, he wouldn't let her use it. He had barricaded her and held her hostage for a number of days.
They went to a nearby crisis center to obtain a protective order. Once signed, deputies were to go back to serve the order and arrest Stores. The wife indicated that Stores did have firearms in the house. So two more deputies, Newsom and Lawson, joined Petrie and Hall. One of the deputies saw Stores peeking out of the home as they approached.
Guys, he's in the window. He just pulled back the blinds. Suspect immediately opened the door, and like he'd been waiting on him, he knew that.
Officials say Stores had multiple weapons, including a high-powered rifle, and deputies saw Stores wearing an armored vest. Sheriff Hunt says the vantage point Stores had made the situation even more difficult as he opened fire. Prestonsburg Police Chief Randy Woods says he doesn't know how they could heal from something so devastating, but that they will, by the grace of God.
Say that no matter the color of the uniform, whatever it is, we are the same on the inside. And that's what matters. That we truly are a thin line. And today our line's a little bit thinner.
We also got an update on the others injured in the shooting. Judge Executive Robbie Williams says Floyd County Constable Gary Wolf is at home but had to have an eye removed because of gunshot and shrapnel injuries. EMS Director Joe Reynolds was shot and also lost an eye. Sheriff Hunt says Deputy Darren Lawson is at risk of losing his leg. He had surgery this morning and will stay in the hospital. And County Attorney Keith Bartley says the KSB trooper shot likely had his life saved by his vest. Well, along with recalling harrowing details and first-hand accounts of the mass shooting, officials took time to answer questions about the details surrounding the gunman Lance Stores. County Attorney Keith Bartley fielded many questions during the conference about the gunman's weapon or weapons, other gear such as body armor, and previous criminal history. Some questions were passed due to ongoing investigations, such as when Bartley was asked if he knew the shooter's motive after killing 3 officers, 1 canine, and injuring several more.
That's probably more of those agencies that are investigating post-arrest. Probably a better question for them if they're in a position to answer that. I don't think the folks on this stage have the answer to your question, unfortunately. Why does it matter what the motive is? There's nothing more wrong in this world than what this man did. Who gives a damn about his motive?
Bartley also said if folks thought of these officers and first responders as anything other than heroes, they were, quote, idiots. And if folks had any doubts on how they did their job, to, quote, don't pick up the phone and handle the situation yourself. We want to go over to the funeral arrangements again for the officers. The visitation for 60-year-old Deputy William Petrie will begin tonight at 6 p.m. at Nelson Frazier Funeral Home in Martin. It's going to continue all day Monday at the funeral home. His funeral will be held Tuesday at 11 a.m. at the Mountain Arts Center in Prestonsburg. He'll be laid to rest at Gethsemane Gardens in Prestonsburg. At Deputy Petrie's visitation, folks came out to show their support for his family today. From community members to fellow first responders across the state, hundreds of folks gathered to pay their respects to a man they call a hero. Floyd County Sheriff's Deputy Alan May, who was at the service this evening, recounted all he learned from Deputy Petrie and wanted to remind folks to keep supporting the affected families.
I couldn't even begin to try to list everyone that's reached out. We're very fortunate, and I know all the families are very thankful, and I want to express to everyone to keep, supporting these families because, yes, it was a tragic day for Eastern Kentucky, but you can only imagine how tragic it was for the families involved.
Deputy May also said Deputy Petrie was a genius when it came to being a law enforcement officer and helped him when he first began his career as a deputy in Floyd County. Nelson Frazier Funeral Home also announced arrangements for Captain Frazier. The visitation for 60-year-old Captain Ralph Frazier will begin Monday at 6 p.m. at Nelson Frazier Funeral Home. It will continue all day Tuesday. His funeral will be held Wednesday at 1 p.m. at the Mountain Arts Center in Prestonsburg. He will also be laid to rest at Gethsemane Gardens. The visitation for 28-year-old Officer Jacob Chaffins will begin on Tuesday the 5th at 6 p.m. at Toms Creek Free Will Baptist Church in Iville. It will continue all day Wednesday at the church. His funeral will be held Thursday at 1 p.m. at the Mountain Arts Center. He'll also be laid to rest at Gethsemane Gardens in Prestonsburg.
Well, it definitely felt like summer across the mountains to round out this weekend. Let's take a live look over at those high temperatures today. Middle to upper 80s across the mountains, 88 for Somerset and London, 84 for Hazard, and 83 over in Prestonsburg. So once you factor in that dew point, it felt even warmer across the mountains. As we go through tonight, the forecast not looking too bad. We stay dry under a mostly clear sky, watching out for a few areas of patchy fog, temperatures falling into the middle and upper 60s. And as you walk out the door on your Independence Day on Monday, temperatures middle to upper 60s under a mostly sunny sky. But what can you expect for your fireworks shows and your cookouts on Independence Day? I have that full forecast coming up in just a little bit. Keaton.
While the Floyd County community grieves the loss of the fallen officers, they're also coming together to show unity through tragic times. WYMT's Chandler Wilcox details how a church held a service in downtown Prestonsburg in support of the local police.
Showing support to the victims.
It's our way of saying a thank you to those men who gave their all.
The resounding thank you overshadowed steady rainfall at the downtown gazebo. No matter the conditions, Praise Assembly of God was going to express their gratitude.
Sometimes you just need to put a hand forward and say, hey, we want you to know we're here and we're here for you.
Standing for men who risked their lives to protect the community.
Well, no shots were fired. They ran to it, not from it.
And now looking for a higher power to help through the coping process.
Praying, help, man. Understanding is so important.
An understanding that many are struggling to come to after the shooting on Thursday. In Floyd County, Chandler Wilcox, WYMT Mountain News.
Praise Assembly of God raised $2,000 for the families of the victims, and People's Bank says they'll match the donations up to $10,000. Thousands of veterans are honoring the 4th and each other this weekend across the Commonwealth. Veterans, service members, and first responders gathered in Louisville Sunday. The party, hosted by nonprofit Veterans Club Incorporated, recognizes 4th of July for veterans can be a challenge. Sounds of fireworks can trigger PTSD symptoms. Noises similar to those in combat can take them right back to the battlefield. Harold says seeing the fireworks in person makes it easier and encourages veterans to get out to celebrate with their friends and family.
If you see it, you obviously know that it isn't a mortar round or it isn't an explosion. It breaks my heart that some, unfortunately, no matter how much they want to, just really aren't in a place to do that yet.
If you're a veteran or service member struggling with the sounds of fireworks, try using headphones to listen to a movie or music to block the sounds. You can also call the VA crisis line to talk to someone specialized in veteran care. As we head deeper into summer, officials are reminding people to stay safe while checking pool chemicals. If they're mixed incorrectly, you could get hurt. Right now, there's a shortage of pool chemicals, and experts are worried it could cause pool owners to mix different solutions together. They warn that could be dangerous.
It may seem counterintuitive because you're adding the powder to the water. However, if you put a little bit of water into the powder, it can cause something called wetting, and that can cause the chemical reaction which can cause combustibility.
The doctor recommends checking your pool chemical levels. He says dirty water can cause skin rashes and other infections. Coming up at 11, Attorney General Daniel Cameron asked the Supreme Court today to reinstate the state's abortion ban.